What if the key to getting your ex back was counterintuitively to stop trying altogether? Sounds kind of bizarre, right? But it's true, and in the next few minutes I'll show you why letting go and moving on might be your most powerful move. In this video we are going to talk about why everything you might think you know about getting your ex back is probably wrong, and the counterintuitive process by which letting go makes it more likely that we get things back. And we are going to discuss the crucial difference between love and attachment, and how understanding this relationship can fundamentally change your relationships. Now, if you're watching this, chances are you are probably going through one of the more painful moments of your entire life, through the sleepless nights and the constant checking your phone and the anxiety and the thinking, are they dating somebody else? Am I ever gonna see them again? Will my life ever be the same? It's exhausting, trust me, I've been there. But here's the crazy paradox: when we are acting from that energy state, almost everything we do has an unintended effect. We try to bring people back to us, we end up pushing them further away. And more importantly, it pushes us further away from ourselves. Because here's the thing about breakups that nobody ever talks about. It's not really your ex that you miss. It's who you were and how you felt while you were with them. And that is the real secret of the no contact rule. It's not about playing hard to get, it's not about faking like you don't care anymore, and it's really less about stopping contact with your ex. That's part of it, but it's more about re-establishing authentic contact with yourself. There seems to be a fundamental breakdown in our culture when it comes to what letting go really is about, what holding on really is about. And this comes down to love and attachment. We very frequently mistake these two things for being the same thing, but they are actually almost opposites when you really look at it. It sounds almost overly simplistic to just say, well, if you love something, then let it go. Because that saying has just kind of been beaten to death. Everybody's heard it a million times. But if you think about it for a second, when you love something, you might not need to let it go, but what you do need to do is let it be itself. For instance, if you love a mountain, or you love the ocean, or you love the feeling of the wind on your face, and you try to capture that thing and make it yours, you try to possess that natural force. You put it in a jar, and now you have a jar of dirt, or water, or a jar of air. This is where attachment comes in. Attachment is the idea that I have felt love, now I want this for me, nobody else, I'm gonna keep it in a jar. The jar of water is no longer the ocean, right? The jar of air is no longer the wind. That which you loved, the essence, is killed by the attempt to possess it. Now, it might sound like I'm getting kind of esoteric here, so let's anchor this back in practicality for the moment. Attachment is where I am basing my worth on this thing. Now, if this relationship falls apart, I feel as if I have lost a part of me. When you do things like try to make your ex jealous, stalk them on social media, you can't get them out of your mind, you can't move on. If we look at the difference between love, which is freedom, life, and then we look at attachment, which tends to be possessive, clinging, what about me comes from insecurity and the desire to establish a sort of inner psychological security, we can see that most of the time our behavior post-breakup, if we're having a bit of an anxiety-induced crisis, it is attachment, not truly love. So how does this connect to no contact? Well, I'm glad you asked. The connection is that typically, the attachment we have is almost like an addiction. We are desperate for that validation, affection, whatever we were getting from this partner is gone, cut off. And we say, no, I want that back as soon as possible. I'm gonna die without that. That might not actually be true, but that is the inner feeling when that attachment that we have been depending on is wrenched away. So the power of no contact is that it allows us to step authentically into the truth, which is that that attachment does not define us. It's not actually true that we're going to die without this person, even though, and this is of course why it's hard, it may feel very much so like we are going to die without that person. Real life changes. Things that you love change. If you love them and want them to stay the same, it is because you are attached to them. If you truly love something, then it changing is not really a problem because you love the essence of the thing. But if you love a specific expression of the thing the way it was in the past, and you want that back for your own psychological security, I was happier when you were this way or when things were like that, then what you're really asking is this thing to not be itself for your own psychological security. As an example, I was in a relationship with this girl who I very deeply liked. I, at the time, would have said I was in love with this girl. Now I realize I was in attachment with this girl, and I will tell you why. When our relationship started, she was going through a lot of transitional periods, some rough times, and I got to be sort of the emotional support system. I deeply enjoyed that role. It made me feel needed, made me feel like I got to be the superhero, right? So after we'd been dating for several months, she got a new job, and in her new job, she was so much happier. And if I truly loved her, that would have been fine, right? I would have been excited. No, I was attached. I was insecure about her happiness because I saw my role in this relationship as being threatened. Now, her new happiness, she didn't need me as an emotional support system. What was I going to do to prove my worth? I could not love because I was attached. I could not be happy for her happiness, which is terrible when you think about it, because I was so lost in my own anxiety, my own insecurity. There's the saying that love is blind, and I very strongly disagree with that. But I do think that attachment is incredibly blind, and that is why attachment to these people, attachment to the ideas of your ex, the ideas of who you were with your ex, and the story you told yourself about yourself when you were with your ex. These are the root of pains when it comes to breakups, why we can't move on, why we feel like we're stuck on this person. We're not stuck on the person at all, because the person is the living thing that we would love, the living thing that has moved on. What we are stuck on is the dead thing we thought we had on our shelf and somebody took. We say, no, 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 I had that in my shelf of dependable things. You can't touch that. Leave it there. I don't want anybody to mess with it. And because our society is so wrapped up in attachment, so wrapped up in these things that we want deeply because we think they're going to change the way we feel about ourselves, we tend to get no contact wrong because we approach it from the avenue of attachment. We say, act like you don't want your ex back anymore. Play hard to get. Ghost them on social media. Post a bunch of pictures of you hanging out with your friends. They're gonna want you. They're gonna think you're more exciting. And that might be true, but what you're actually doing is you're playing on the other person's insecurities because of your own insecurities. And it's incredibly disingenuous. So I do not advocate for no contact from the perspective of, I want to manipulate this person to get them back in my life, to go back to the way things were. I advocate not going back to the way things were because right now you are dealing with the separation pains from the way things were. Like an addict, you are going through withdrawals of how things were. Even if things were good in your mind, the very fact that you cannot live without them, without being miserable, shows that at best these things were slightly covering up some things that you could work on, and at worst were literally the very things holding up your life, and now that they're gone, you feel like your life is over. That is a wrong idea. It is just practically not true. You were fine before you met this person. You might not think of it that way now, but there were times in your life before you had this person and you were fine, you were happy, you had friends, you were great. Now there's a new story that says, okay, yeah, sure, but it'll never be like that again without them. It's the same way you feel if you're addicted to something. I won't be able to survive without it. How could I cope? How could I make it? It's not true, but it is a very strong feeling. And thus the reason that letting go, going no contact, moving on from a relationship that you're hung up on is so powerful is it is like stopping your addiction. At the same time, this does actually increase the chances of you getting back together with your ex. And we're going to talk about why as we go through this next section. Because see, the opportunity that is granted to you post-breakup when the addiction, as it were, when these patterns, this attachment becomes so obvious. You've been attached to this thing that is not you, and now you say, well, who am I? That feels very scary, and trust me, I've been there. I felt the complete destruction of who I thought I was, and it sucks. So if you're there, I do feel for you, genuinely. But know that this is the opportunity for you to go deeper and discover the deeper truth that empowers you beyond who you used to think you were. And this is why going no contact is one of the best things you can do for both you and your ex and the potential future relationship together. Because you allow both of yourselves to be new people, to change, to develop into, once again, that not an idea on your shelf, but to a new living person with a new story. And this is the mistake that most people make that going no contact is designed to fix. Imagine you are walking through the forest, right? Your life is this forest, and you've been walking with this person for however long, and you've reached a fork in the road, and this person's going one way, and you feel yourself being pulled to go the other way. That's challenging. I don't mean to minimize that, right? I feel the pain of being in that space and having these attachments revealed for what they are. But the power of going no contact is this, right? So if we are clinging, if we are constantly checking up on them, if we're constantly texting them saying, hey, I want you back, how are you doing? Like, let's hang out. If you're constantly following them on social media, like obsessing over them, what's happening is they are walking down their path. And you are standing at the fork of this road saying, hey, come back, come back, come back, refusing to go down your path. That's what's happening. We're saying, no, I refuse. I'm not going to go anywhere. I'm staying here. I'm so miserable. I would rather stay here. I can't do it. I can't go by myself. It's not going to work out. Can't do it. I'm just going to stay here and say, hey, come back, please, please come back, while the other person is walking away. Now, I don't mean to minimize how painful this is, right? Because I have literally done this. The opportunity is for us to start to walk down that new path and see what happens. And to realize that if we boldly embrace our new path and we accept, we might not love it, we might not be happy with it, but we can say, I gave it my best shot. This is where I'm at now. Let's see what happens next. Instead of looking in the rearview mirror saying, that was better, I want that back. Oh, I want that back. The power that gives us is that at some junction in the future, those paths might meet up again. But the way we will rekindle this relationship with our ex is if we are different people. If you've gone on your own journey, you've become your own person, you have new stories to tell, you have new opportunities to reconnect with this person. It's not, I wished we could go back, but it's look how this new relationship can come together. Not because I stood at the intersection yelling for you to come back, but because I boldly went my own way, and that made me more attractive. And not attractive in just sort of like a face value, skin deep type way, but authentically attractive because you accepted your own self. You have to in order to go through this process. That's what makes other people more connected to you. That's what makes you more able to genuinely be vulnerable with other people as well. And a little bit of an internal exercise you can do that I've done and found very challenging yet freeing is to imagine that you are at that fork in the road. You're at that why, and your partner is going their own way. Look at yourself and see what parts of you, what beliefs, what stories you're telling yourself that are stuck at that junction, saying, I need that, I want that back, I'm gonna fall apart if I don't have that. And have the inner courage to say, I have to go this way. There's a path that diverges, and my path, whether it merges back in the future or not sure, but I have to go this way right now, because that is what reality is telling you. They may converge again at the future, and you might meet each other, new, more developed people, and be able to reconnect. But if not, that's okay too, because you will have a fuller appreciation for who this person is becoming on their journey and who you are becoming on your journey. We talked earlier about how if you love something, you have to set it free. And that goes for yourself too. You have to set both of you free at this junction and say, my path will lead me here. Maybe that might well be the catalyst for a new relationship with this person in the future. It may well help you get your ex back. It's going to help you get your ex back better than almost anything else will. But only if you're able to authentically embody it, if you are able to depart from that attachment and have love for the potential of your partner in the future, for their decisions, for your decisions, and for yourself, for your right to be who you are, to change, to experience, to make mistakes, to screw things up and not have it be the end of the world, and to meet new people. Maybe to meet old people, who knows? But you will never know as long as you're stuck at that junction, refusing to move forward. Give yourself the grace and have the courage to dust yourself off and go through that next path, isolated from the other person, isolated from that safety blanket, from those attachments, because only then can we truly begin to see things more clearly, and only then can we truly begin to love. Maybe not the exact presentation of how we thought this was going to go. But I will tell you, I now love the experience of the breakup I had with that girl, because it destroyed me. But only through that destruction was I able to truly see, was I able to truly embody so much more of my own energy and let so many things that I thought I had to carry go. I never in a million years would have thought that I would be grateful for this breakup. If you asked me at the time, I would have said, no, I want anything but this breakup. I want to spend the rest of my life with this person. But now, the best thing that I believe has ever happened for me was that breakup, because it has allowed me to see, and only having the courage to walk forward and go along my own path and to say, you know what? I have to let this person go. I have to go down my path. That is what has moved my life forward, and that is what will move your life forward as well. And that is the true power of going no contact, and how it will make you more attractive, potentially to your ex at a future junction, definitely to other people, and most importantly, it will bring you back in line with yourself, with your authentic energy. This can be a very challenging arena to navigate if you're freshly out of a breakup trying to embody these principles, but you're like kind of lost, you don't know what to do. If you have more questions, I do offer one-on-one coaching. You can find a link in the description. I'm very passionate about talking about these things, helping guide people, offering reflections, and just a safe place to be themselves and talk through this stuff. Additionally, I do have a couple more videos you might want to check out. So if you want to know where these inner wounds come from, why we can feel so broken and try to compensate, then check out this video right here on inner child wounds and where they come from. And if you want to know more about why it is that we tend so often to chase other people to fill that void, why that void exists, then check out this video right here on why people who are afraid of being left, who are afraid of being abandoned, are actually abandoning themselves. Aside from that, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We will see you next time. Bye-bye.